Okay, well, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 9:30. Thank you all for being here today, driving in. Some of you drove a long way, so I appreciate it. We've got three new commissioners today, so I want to begin by just introducing them. We've got Timothy Michaels Johnson, Brian Larison, and Hannah Whipp. And could you guys, if we just maybe introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and what capacity you're serving in.
Sure. So my name is Hannah Whipp. I'm the director for the Oklahoma County Juvenile Bureau. I've worked in juvenile corrections for over 12 years now.
I'm Brian Larison. I'm CEO for Lions Meadows of Hope Foster Care Agency in the Payne County area. We serve down to Oklahoma City, Enid, Tulsa area. We've been around since 1938, started as a children's home, and now do foster care.
Awesome. And you're here representing OK Care?
I'm here representing Oklahoma Care because we're better than OK.
Okay.
All right.
Oklahoma Children's Agency is residential enterprises. That organization actually predates DHS licensing, advocating for maximum standards for children that are in out-of-home care. So,
okay, awesome.
My name is Timothy Michaels Johnson. I am the governor appointee for the Oklahoma Bar Association, and I currently work for the new Central Office of Parent and Child Representation for the state of Oklahoma, specifically over child representation for Region 5, which is northeastern Oklahoma.
That's great. Welcome you all. Thank you for serving in this capacity. We also have a new Assistant Attorney General that's here to help us and represent us, Ty Moody. So thank you, Mowdy. Mowdy, I messed it up.
Sir, no worries.
Thank you for helping us and for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Okay, let's, any other guests in the room? I need to. Okay, let's establish quorum. We don't usually do that, but could you call roll?
You usually go around.
Okay, let's go around. Go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll do that as a way of establishing quorum. So.
Hannah Whipp.
Melinda Front.
I'm Brian.
Timothy Tardibono.
Jacqueline Aaron.
Jason Hicks.
Timothy Michaels Johnson.
Mike Warren.
John Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, we have quorum. Yes. All right, moving on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Do we have anybody sign up for public comment today? No? Okay. Agenda item number 3, discussion of possible vote regarding the minutes from the January 24th, 2025 commission meeting.
Just one note on page 1 of the minutes. It makes reference to review of the minutes from January 24th instead of November 22nd.
Isn't that for the
Yeah,
got it.
We talked about review of the January 24th.
Good catch.
Anything else?
Move they be approved as amended.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
CEO Bittner,
Yes.
Director Front,
Abstain.
District Attorney Hicks.
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardibono,
Abstain.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whipp,
I'll abstain as
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item number 4, discussion and possible vote regarding the finance report. Turn it over to our business manager, Mahbubah Hack.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I appreciate your time and presence today as we walk through the financial report for the fiscal year 2025. Covering activities through March 31st. So this is the next slide. This slide provides a snapshot of the total budget allocated for the financial year 2025 stands at $6,152,792. By March 31st, 2025, we have spent $4,395,761. That makes 20% of the full year budget and 93% of what we were expected to spend by this point of the year. The overall key message from this slide is these numbers reflect disciplined spending and shows our budget utilization remains on track and consistent with our planned program activities. Slide breaks down the budget utilization across major account categories. Personal services remain 63%, travel expenses 57%, administrative expenses 74% of the annual budget utilization, property, furniture, equipment 45%, grants and program payments 91%. Overall total utilization remains 70%, and if we see year-to-date budget, it's 93%. Just to compare visually, these are the graphs, these are the bars for each category, for the year allocation, year-to-date budget allocation, and expenses. Here are some more details by the detail account heads. Same information, but for little detail review. Here we can compare that numbers in the graph to see where we are. So comparing overall by departments, our departments spending trends highlight administratively, we are 87% utilized the Department of Juvenile System Oversight, 91% utilized, planning and coordination 91%, MDTs, disbursements to multidisciplinary teams completed 93% utilized. So these are the overall the departmental budget lines with the programmatic priorities, and we will continue monitor department spending more closely with the program activity. Here are the same information with the numbers and percentages. Let's have a look. Our overall cumulative spending trend, so far we have spent $4,295,761, which matches that we expected for this point of year. Monthly spending has been steady with a peak in December, January, and Feb. That was mainly due to the disbursement to the multidisciplinary teams. And these trends reflect a planned approach, ensuring funds are available. This is our cash budget, cash balance report. The total available cash balances as of March 31st, 2025 stands at $901,216.90. So notable balances include the financial year 2024 carry forward, financial year 25 funds appropriations, and 200 is for the revolving funds. Overall, this slide shows our current cash position is in good standing for the future obligations. We have included the detailed system generated reports in the packet. And these reports were operating budget comparisons, 60 expenditure report, and allotment budget and available cash for your detailed review. Here are some key financial highlights and the key updates. We are working on the development of 2026 budget, and it will be presented before the commission for approval in its meeting scheduled for June 2025. And we have completed the budget revision for the financial year 2024 to carry forward the funds to financial year 2025. And the amount was $219,572. We have completed submission of 40 claims and received the response that has been processed, and we are expecting receipts in this month. CAMTA fund disbursements for the 2025 has been completed, and it was dispersed to 42 disciplinary teams. And now currently we are coordinating the return of unspent funds for the last year, and these balances will be returned to the DHS. And in the next quarter, we will be renewing the POs for the next financial year. Rest all the other activities and ongoing support is in good standing. Overall, to wrap up, the financial results from the first 3 quarters of the fiscal year 2025 shows financial discipline and alignment with our planned activities. Thank you very much. I am happy to answer any questions or go over any part of the reports in more detail, and agenda is submitted to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No questions? No questions. Is there a motion to approve the financial report?
So moved.
Motion. Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
EO Bittner,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Abstain.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardy-Bono,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whip,
Yes.
Thank you. Abu, thank you so much for your report. You do such a great job of being thorough and detailed, and we really appreciate it. Next is agenda item number 5, presentation from the Parent Partnership Board, always one of my favorite parts of the agenda. So I will turn it over to Sierra White.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me today. My name is Sierra White, and I am both a biological mother and a foster mother to 8 beautiful children. You can see some of the artwork here today. They're ranging in ages from 1 to 19. In addition to being a mom, I am also the OCCY Parent Partnership Board member. I am on CASA as well as the Post Adjudication Review Board. What's this mean? It means I've got firsthand experience in the metro, the child welfare system here in the metro, as well as rural counties. While I'm encouraged by the current practices in child welfare, I must say I'm a little reluctant and I'm kind of worried as we are exiting the Pinnacle Plan. Oklahoma has strong policies to support children and families, but the inconsistent application seems to continue to be an issue for many families as well as my own. I'm here today to speak about the disparities in child welfare outcomes. In 1 week, 2 teenagers were placed in my home after they had been removed from another foster home for abuse. They had been in care less than 48 hours. After a few days, I spoke to the worker and she had informed me that they were removed from their relative for truancy and poor grades. As some of you may know, Oklahoma law allows for children to be adjudicated as deprived due to repeated absences. I'm sure there are probably other safety concerns as well, but nothing that could truly justify and outweigh what they're experiencing today in the foster care system. These girls, I just spoke to them a couple weeks ago, and they're still bouncing around placements. They have changed schools just three times in just a short amount of time. I don't know, there's 2 teenage girls removed from a relative for truancy. And that very same week, myself and a middle school counselor filed a referral for a young girl who had been forced to make drug deals for her parent, so that her parent could possibly avoid a 5th prison sentence should she be caught. This child was forced to make all contact with dealers using her phone and Snapchat. She would be forced to run pills in and out of a home while her parent waited in the car. When I asked if she had ever been touched inappropriately or left alone with these dealers, she looked to the ground and she began to sob. She stated she had been forced to steal feminine hygiene products, baby shoes, candy, all of which she had been caught by store security for. She was also forced to smoke an unknown substance from a vape. She was told if she tattles on her parent, that her parent would tell the police that she had smoked it as well. She was attending school in blood-stained pants and had marks on the back of her neck from being beaten by her parent, which she would not comply. She also stated that she and her siblings would go hungry 2 to 3 nights a week. Both the counselor and I verbally reported this to the hotline as well as to the caseworker. In addition, we also stated we have evidence of all of our allegations. We have proof of dealers' names, addresses, timestamps, truancy records, evidence of medical neglect, and evidence of physical bruises. Also included in our referrals were statements from that same little girl stating that her baby sister had ingested one of the pills that her parents had been taking, and her parents were too scared to seek medical attention. When I finally received a follow-up call, nearly 2 weeks later from CPS, after making numerous calls to the hotline, the worker stated she wasn't interested in the evidence that I had provided. It wasn't necessary to obtain at this time. She dismissed the concerns, stating the parent told her that the daughter was pretty dramatic and she did not see an imminent threat. I asked her if she was aware that the parent was ordered not to be around the children just 2 years prior, or that these children had been in care previously for 3 years for DV, abuse, and neglect. To that, she replied, I haven't had time to review the case files. As I stand here today, that little girl is still in that home. Her siblings are still in that home. I have still not been requested. No one's requested evidence from me, and that has not seen the light of day. It's been 5 months since that referral was made. How can such disparities exist? How can one child come into care after merely one referral, and some it's 20 plus before they can find a safe place to lay their head? 2 different counties, 2 different workers, 2 different ADAs, and 2 different judges. These examples underscore the urgent need for standardized practices across our state. Our children's ability to receive safety, help, and resources should not be determined by a county line. As a foster parent, I've seen how small details can help shape a family's success or ultimately their demise. For instance, a caseworker with a supportive supervisor may be provided with creative solutions to these cases, while another may have no support at all. Likewise, a child's attorney or a parent's attorney may prepare long ahead of court. They may show up and meet their clients, while another may not show up to court entirely. These differences, though subtle, can have a profound impact on outcomes. The responsibility for poor outcomes does not rest solely on CPS and DHS. It's a collective problem and it requires collective solutions. I can tell you, had one of my children's bio families lived just 15 miles north, they would still be raising their children today. And this little girl that I just told you about lived just 30 miles to her east. She would have never had to return home after that disclosure. So how do we address these collective issues? Here are some suggestions that I believe can help us work together to improve the outcomes for everyone involved. First, promote uniform policy enforcement. Consistency matters. It's vital to ensure that policies and laws are applied uniformly across the state, as well as increase mental health and applied and substance dependent services to all Oklahomans. This will ensure that every child and family are provided equal opportunities, and it will encourage positive outcomes for all families, regardless of their zip code. Secondly, create channels for escalation of concerns. We need to ensure that professionals such as doctors, law enforcement officers, school personnel, counselors, family members, and community leaders have a clear pathway to escalate their concerns when the referrals are not being addressed properly. These are the people that see these children and families every day. They know them better than anyone. This added layer of accountability can save lives and improve outcomes for children. Lastly, embrace accountability and continuous improvement. As agencies, you must actively listen to the families that you serve. You must avoid making assumptions about their needs. By involving families in decision-making and asking how you can best support them, you empower them and you make your services so much more effective. Regular evaluations like quarterly surveys and climate checks are not something, they're opportunities to grow, they're not something to fear. If a program or initiative isn't producing the desired result, it's okay to step back and say, we tried, it's not working. Let's reassess and adjust our approach. This mindset shows humility and a commitment to improvement. Let me leave you with this final thought. When we first move into our homes, there's excitement and eagerness. We remodel, we paint, we make the space welcoming. Then over time, daily tasks seem to take over. Eventually, our homes begin to show signs of aging. It's often that the major damages that demand our attention, they begin to accumulate. Meanwhile, the smaller tasks are waiting for the elusive free time, whenever that might be. These neglected repairs begin to grow into bigger problems, forcing us to stop and address them, often at a much higher cost. The same principle applies to your agencies. You must remain vigilant, setting aside time to ask tough questions and challenge assumptions. Take a critical look at your daily operations. By consistently monitoring outcomes and addressing issues as they arise, you can prevent these small cracks from turning into further damage. This proactive approach will not only save you time and resources, but it will safeguard all of your families from unnecessary harm. When we do not take time to slow down and pay attention to the subtle signs, we then become responsible for the trauma that these families endure. You may be surprised to know that these photos that you see here to my left were actually drawn by the same sweet, bubbly girl that drew these. She drew these just 2 weeks after going to extended visits with her biological parents and then ultimately reunification. As you can see here today, while these are nearly unrecognizable from each other, so is that little girl. Thank you for your time. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Okay, next on the agenda is agenda item number 7, discussion and possible, or discussion on Senate Bill 364. I missed, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Agenda item number 6, sorry about that. Discussion possible vote regarding House Bill 2030, increasing the foster care payment. So I'm gonna turn it over to Sarah Haran.
Thank you very much. I don't know how I feel about going after that, Sarah. That was so good. And I love the visuals and thank you for your work inside your home and out. My name is Sarah Harry and I'm the Executive Director of the Foster Care Association of Oklahoma. I also am a member of the state PARB board and also an adoptive foster and adoptive parent of 5 children from child welfare. So I am really grateful to meet you all. I've heard so much about almost everybody in this room. And so thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about some really exciting news when it comes to more supports for foster families, especially. HB 2030 is a bill, and Director, thank you for letting me be here, by the way. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We're really excited to be able to offer additional support for foster children, especially. Right now, the daily rate, a base pay for a foster child here in Oklahoma is between $17 and $22 a day. So if you imagine 10-year-old, 15-year-old surviving on that daily rate, it is almost nearly impossible. I've done some work on trying to determine really where Oklahoma lies when it comes to raising a child. How much does it cost to raise a child in Oklahoma? And that's about half of what it actually costs to raise a child in Oklahoma. And so since these are our children, this is really a priority, not only because I've experienced it, but also because we have thousands of children here in Oklahoma that deserve so much better. So what this measure is suggesting and wanting to improve is the daily rate for $5 per day per child. So that would raise the rate $22 to $27 per child, which is still not where it needs to be, but it's a vast improvement to where we're at right now. And we recognize that the fiscal impact is quite high because the original author of this bill, Representative Archer, wanted to help foster and adoptive. So he included everybody. And that's over 20,000 children in care. So the fiscal impact is over 18 million. That's a lot, especially with where we're at right now with the talks of lots of tax cuts and other priorities. And so what we are wanting to do, and I met with Senator Thompson, who's going to be taking this on the Senate side, is just try to come to an agreement, use this as a negotiation tool, try to figure out if there's a way to do something rather than nothing. 18 million is a lot, but what about 3.9 million and take care of all of our children currently in care? Or do we prioritize families that are taking siblings and keeping siblings together? Or do we recognize families that are taking teenagers, the ones that have threats of sleeping in the office that night? We can look at this a lot of different ways, I think. And so although this bill kind of asks for it all, the intention is not it's not all or nothing. And so we would really appreciate your support on this. I know that Marcia is wonderful. Is she here today? I don't know if I saw her.
She's out ill today. I'm gonna be her replacement.
Amazing.
A lackluster replacement.
Great combo. I know she does a great job lobbying for a lot of the bills that come out of this commission. So we'd love to have her support at the Capitol as well. But I'd love to answer any questions about the bill and see if I can help at all. Yes.
Is that fee, is that the same for kinship placements?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, it's exactly the same.
Okay.
Good question.
The system for continuous evaluation and adjustment, what does that look like?
Since the budget seems to always, we have to look at the budget annually.
Sure.
And so it gives permission to make adjustments if needed. That's what that means.
And is it a legislative change that would be needed each time?
Correct. Oh, budget, so
Budget, right.
the combination of both, yes.
Okay.
Is this part of DHS's budget?
Yes,
Have they weighed in on?
they have, yeah, so.
Director Carmel's not here, so I'm just curious.
I did, yeah, I spoke to Director Cartmel just a couple days ago about this, and then have worked with leadership for the last couple of months for data collection and things like that. And Director Cartmel is in favor of supporting foster children, whether or not they take a formal stance or not on this. We will see, but he is in support of this bill.
Sarah, can you speak to like the current state of like the need for foster parents and how this bill might relate to that?
Say that again.
The current state of the need for foster parents, like regarding placement for children is, because we've seen the number of children in care go down significantly since 2018. And so, there's 8,500 kids in care, 5 or 6 years ago. Now there's less than 6,000 children in care. Is there still a need for foster parents, and would this contribute to that?
More than ever. So yes, the smallest amount of kids we've ever had in care. So 5,900, it's 1,500, I think 5,800 and some change, the lowest we've ever been as a state. We're also the lowest we've ever been in foster care, foster parents. So that's a crisis. Money will not solve everything. It's not going to immediately change our numbers, but it absolutely does help. If you're asking a family who's already kind of struggling financially, barely making the family budget, and you're asking them to take siblings, it's nearly impossible to do financially. And so what this does is this empowers the families. I think it definitely will help recruitment. Again, it's a piece to many things that I think we need to look at when we talk about child welfare, but it is, we are in a crisis. That's not debatable. And we're more in our crisis really has to do a lot with older kids. And so that's why I want to look at this, our negotiation on this as where's the biggest need and prioritize it that way if we're really having a hard time funding the entire demographic.
So much as it matters. I think the idea of if we have to prioritize in groups or something like that, I'd love to see additional support, especially for kinship care, because they generally have the greatest needs and taking on this work, keeping kids with their families is
very important.
the best.
It's really important. I mean, imagine, being taken away from the only home you've ever known, and then being put in a complete stranger's home. I mean, it's not ideal. It should really be the last resort, kinship care and informal care, or, whether they are connected by blood or a teacher, a pastor. I mean, that really is the ideal situation for these kids for sure. So I think looking at kinship as a priority would be a very good idea.
Just to follow up on
Yes.
that, you're saying there's different paths or options. Is that to say that those will be sort of decided later on as we get the budget picture more in place? So then, and that's yes, for the record, you're saying yes. So are we being asked as commissioners to vote on the bill as it currently stands? Because I'm a little uncomfortable supporting something that I don't know what it's going to look like in May.
That's fair. I don't know what it's going to look like in May either. I think this is, I think our legislators don't know either. I think at the end, we will have, I understand the predicament. I think at the end, we will decide what's left for us. And so, yeah, I cannot, give a number of what that is. I know that if we help everybody, it's 18 million. If we help just foster care, including kinship, kids that are currently in care that are not in adopted homes, that would be 3.9 million state and a 6 million federal match.
Sarah, are you, it seems a little unconventional to be asking. It's kind of like a line item, request for, so do we have any understanding as why DHS didn't ask for this increase themselves in their own budget?
I can't answer that, I don't know.
I mean, just for myself, I know that there's a lot of discussion about how much money and how much money DHS takes. I will say, coming from a place of foster care, obviously, I believe that we need to take care of those kiddos that are sleeping in offices. And I don't know,
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate that we have to have a bill that is kind of separate from the main budget. But to me, and see if this seems true to you, it seems like a public response to the crises that constituents are facing, being directed to a legislator and asking for help in one particular place is how this bill came to be in front of us. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. Yeah. Brian had a great relationship with Representative Archer. It's how we started working with him. Representative Archer had 2 constituents in his district. I believe both teachers. I hope that's correct. And I think one was adopted and one wasn't. Again, I think those are the details. And they were having a really hard time making it. And being able to still care for, kids that they really cared about. I mean, it's a real issue. I mean, inflation alone since 2018, which is when the last increase happened, has been over 25%. I mean, it really, if you imagine just 3 meals a day, I mean, I know that we all probably in this room would agree that it's needed. And I understand timing is everything, and I understand the landscape. And again, we really don't want to approach this as all or nothing. Something will be appreciated. Something will, and it will be prioritized. We will make sure that it goes to the most needed kids and families. And this is something directly to the stipend. It's not managed or there's nothing that can be pulled from this. This would go directly to the foster parent stipend.
Are you saying there's no administrative cost to this?
Correct.
When was the last time it was raised?
2018.
Any other questions?
I'll just make one last comment, just reiterate a comment I think I made at a previous board meeting, just on the fact that I think everyone in here agrees we need to do more to support foster families and do what we can. I have some just discomfort from a fellow agency head, and I don't know if Tim feels the same way, voting on a bill that puts kind of an unknown fiscal impact on a sister agency. And so I'll probably abstain from my vote, but I just wanted to let you all know that's why.
And if I could, Mr. Chair, I don't know, maybe my understanding has been the commission hasn't necessarily taken a position on this. Well, I think we all support the idea of giving foster parents more money. I thought we had always kind of gone, we're gonna stand back. Each of us individually can go and help with this if we want to, but the commission as a whole, I don't remember in my time on here that we've ever taken a position on legislation and said, yes, we want to go do this. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of been my understanding.
Yes.
I think we have, but your point is very well taken, and what you both are expressing has come up in the past. But there have been times where we have supported legislation. My guess is it did not have a fiscal impact for an agency without the wholehearted support of the agency being stated. And that's what I think is different. But we have endorsed other bills in the past that typically are not directed to someone's budget or about someone's budget. Just for the record. But what you're stating is correct. And what you just said is also accurate about something that did not have a fiscal impact. Many moons ago, just as an example, there was an organization that wanted us to support a vaccine campaign. And it kind of came up again that everyone individually, in particular, Department of Health and Healthcare Authority, thought that they did not want to be part of a they wanted to have their own thoughts and have their own endorsement and did not feel comfortable being lumped in, which I think makes perfect sense, right? So I'm just saying, we've done it kind of a myriad of ways, and I think your statements are absolutely accurate when it comes to budget. Things that have concerned other state agencies' budgets.
I guess I would have a question about the fiscal impacts there. Do you know if this bill is passed, is it just a mandate to DHS that's not funded, or will there be appropriations that would follow this?
Appropriations. I don't know if I'm understanding exactly, I mean, there's appropriation would be tied to it.
So it wouldn't take away from the budget that they have currently requested.
It's above my pay grade, but
I don't think that's something we know.
Yeah, don't know the fiscal impact.
That's,
I don't know.
other thoughts or questions? I'd like to make a motion on this agenda item. Okay. A motion made. We'll move on to agenda item number 7. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Foster care is a great need in Oklahoma, and we appreciate the data and the information, your hard work.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, agenda item number 7, report and discussion on Senate Bill 364. I will turn it over to Dr. Carolyn McAllister.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here. I want to start my presentation with a very short introduction. I've been in Oklahoma for 42 years. I was here just right after Terry D. and right before the bill that established OCCY. I've had a delightful experience working with OCCY over the years because my volunteer effort, even though Professor at OSU and vet med, so it's kind of strange, has been in the area of child abuse prevention. Helped stand up the first CAC in Stillwater and had the opportunity to work several times on state groups, and OCCY has always been a great resource. And I love the expansion to the parent board, reaching into communities and helping them with the very big challenge of child abuse. So with that said, thank you. Then I also want to wish you well on your House Bill 2892. I think clearly needs to pass, and I certainly hope it does. Okay, how do we advance this? Right here? Okay. And you might wonder, why am I here? Why would I come here? 2 or 3 years ago, someone from the coalition that is supporting this bill and had a different number came and spoke to the commission to raise awareness about the problem dealing with children with disabilities and the use of corporal punishment. And these are disabled children in accordance with IDEA, which is very specific individual disabilities Education Act. And because you all do look after the welfare of our children, which I'm thankful for, you do have oversight over the state's children and youth. You even realize it's not a system that you have oversight, and that's education system. It's still something that you have expertise with, and I am seeking your advice today. And the belief I love, every child deserves a safe and healthy supportive environment, and that includes a school. Okay, Senate Bill 364 is the 3rd version, or maybe 4th, I'm not sure, of this piece of legislation. The purpose is to prohibit the use of corporal punishment as defined, as you'll see below. It's not just paddling. Children with disabilities do sustain hitting, slapping, hair pulling, choking by their coat. I mean, there's been any number of methods that are used to discipline them that is heartbreaking. I am a grandmother of a child with an intellectual disability. She's had her struggles in school. I've walked that journey with her, and it's not an easy journey. And they deserve a safe place at school and a safe place to learn. And it is by federal law, FAPE, they are entitled to that in the least restrictive environment. Pardon me for the emotion, I usually never get emotional. Never talk about your grandkids in public. Okay, so the problem existed because the State Department of Ed, Special Ed, changed the administrative code. And they had a 90-day public, as you should have, comment period. That administrative change was signed by the governor in 2020. It went into place school year 2021. And then they, in 22, put in their annual summer survey to the school districts. Are you corporally punishing children, disabled children under IDEA? And what they got back was stunning. There were 63 schools that were still using corporal punishment to discipline the children. There were 455 incidences in that one school year alone. But as they understood, if you go and look at our statute, the only protected category, and this is actually not a category under IDEA, it's a terminology used for alternate graduation, but the term is the children with significant cognitive disabilities, and that's less than 10% of kiddos. So a lot of children under IDEA that do not fall in this category. And even the parent could choose to allow written consent, and I will talk a little bit about that in a minute. So what are these disabilities? It's a long list. And believe you me, I've spent 3 years trying to understand this list. Huge documents, federal, explaining them. It is not easy, unless you're somebody like Gracie, who has Down syndrome, to be automatically placed as a student with a disability under IDEA. There's a lot of testing done, a lot of guidance on whether or not that child's going to qualify, unless it's extremely obvious, especially in the area of your special learning disabilities, which is the vast majority of our kiddos in Oklahoma that are disabled under IDEA. And so I guess when I throw that list up there, because I'm going to refer back to it, because there's a lot of nuances involved. In fact, this particular one, this is where Gracie actually is right now. Because they wait till they are 9 or 10 to do their IQ test and their living score test, which is how they determine a lot of placements. And they feel like that's safer, and it's just across the board in the district that she attends. Okay, that goes away after the child goes through that testing process. Okay, why do these kids need special placement? Why did they need? Because that list of categories that I just showed you, their brains work differently, or their bodies work differently in such a way that it adversely affects their ability to learn, severely affects their ability to learn. Normal interventions are not going to, for instance, dyslexia is one of them that's so confused. A dyslexic child, a true dyslexic child has a deficit in the brain. They are not able to handle communication and language like, I hate this word, normal or neurotypical children, right? And that's really a problem for them most of their life, the reading comprehension piece. But a lot of kids have what's called dyslexic characteristics. We do a screening test when kids enter school because reading's important, we want them all to read. And some kids are identified as having issues, blending sounds, recognizing words, but with some reading intervention, they catch up and go on. They are not students with disabilities under IDEA. The dyslexic child will always need help, and they'll need special services. And so that's basically, when I called the special ed department and said, help me understand simply, how can I explain this to legislators? They have to have specially designed instruction, special services, because their disability adversely affects their ability to learn, and we want the children to learn. So we developed this. This is another thing I hear a lot. Oh, IEPs are easy to get. Trust me, they are not. I've spent 2 hours, 3 or 4 times a year with my daughter and Gracie and all the specialists trying to design that curriculum. And it varies according to whatever your disability is, but it is strenuous and it works. I would be happy to say. Little Gracie had a behavior problem. The school district that she was in happened to have a board certified behavior analyst, came in and discovered the problem was with the paras. It wasn't with Gracie, right? She was being forced to do something that she was trying to communicate and they didn't understand. Beautiful, special need, special services. Man, she's doing great with her sight words now. She's paying attention. She's not acting out. And that is just a happy story I had to share because can get kind of heavy when you're talking about this sort of thing. Like I said, this is a survey that was done. This was what was discovered. Nationally, 33 states do not corporally punish kids with disabilities under IDEA. 2 of them do other children. The neurotypical children are still paddled. In Louisiana, Mississippi, no child with disability, even 504. This bill is not about 504 kiddos. It is strictly children under IDEA. Now, I'm throwing this up. This was something I prepared, and I apologize. I gave you a handout that was a little confusing. That was prepared for the lobbyists that are working with this. And there were other documents, and I referred to that, and I apologize. I brought you another iteration of it so you can understand a little more about what I was trying to convey in that handout as far as legislators' concerns. But Senator Rader asked for a list of disability diagnoses that were recently used that were corporally punished in the district. I did not share the district because I don't think that needs to be out in the public domain, but I will tell you the 9 districts, remember these are individual districts, they were not on that 63 list. They didn't choose to self-report they were using corporal punishment. The state of Oklahoma has no mechanism to report that. They have to report to the federal government, to civil rights every 2 years. But we as a state do not know what children are being paddled, not even our children with disabilities, or why they're being paddled, or how they're being corporally punished. You can see on this list, it varies a lot. This child was being choked by a coat to get her to obey, and it was seen by the SRO and reported to the parent. This child was being slapped, level 2 autism. In fact, that's another thing that's misunderstood. Just because you have autism, you don't become a child disabled under IDEA. You have to be level 2 or greater. ADHD doesn't tend to be, again, I hear that a lot. They don't qualify. It's a spectrum. Autism is a spectrum, and they have to be severely affected in their ability to learn to qualify. They are the most common disabled child corporally punished. As you know, if you know, yes, sir.
Are you including spanking and choking into the category of corporal punishment? Because that should not be in there.
Actually, if you look at the definition in our state statute.
Oh, excuse me, choking and slapping is what I'm saying, not spanking.
That can be considered. They were using that for discipline. And it could be.
You're saying that qualifies as
yes, sir, it does. If you look at our state statute, it sure does. If you'll look on the handout, the 1-pager I gave you, our state statute describes it as slapping, spanking, hitting, in any type of physical force for discipline. That is the definition. And that is a misnomer because these children are pinched, they're slapped, they're pulled by their hair, I won't go into any more details, but yes, and that is something I think that we all need to recognize. And part of that, I also want to stop for just a moment. I am not judging school districts. I am not judging teachers. I am not judging administrators. It is difficult. Some children are very difficult with disabilities, but they need the training, and the training is free in Oklahoma. We've got several phenomenal behavior training programs, UCO being one of them. I mean, it's state of the art. It's recognized nationally. Dr. Singleton does an amazing job, and it's free. It has a contract with him. He does 3 sessions in the summer, coaches them during the year. OU, Autism Center, also provides free training, has a contract with State Department of Ed. So if I'm in that classroom and I don't understand how to manage a child with disabilities because of their behavior related issues, it can get very frustrating. And it can even get dangerous if I don't know how to intervene quickly and de-escalate and provide the positive behavior reinforcement that they need. So it does require training, and the parents are the ones that usually have most of that responsibility, and they certainly don't get the training they need. Do you have another question? You have a quizzical look on your brow.
I do have another question.
Okay.
Louisiana and Mississippi, you said, are the 2 states that still use corporal punishment on other students.
Yes, sir.
Are you saying that of those 33 that have prohibited the use of corporal punishment, they prohibited on disabled students and
All states.
non-disabled?
31 states in the
No
United
corporal
States, no
punishment
corporal
whatsoever, is
right
that
now.
correct?
That is correct. One of the states is not on statute. North Carolina doesn't allow, none of their districts use it, but it's still in their state statute. So they're counted in that group.
So if we redefine corporal punishment to leave out slapping and choking, would that be satisfactory?
Absolutely not.
Okay, what did we do in 1972 regarding corporal punishment?
I don't know.
1981. Okay, well, we've had the school systems in place for an awful long time, and corporal punishment normally works, okay? So if we can get rid of the problems where it's choking, slapping, I don't like that either.
Honestly, and there's no evidence that
But
works.
isn't there still a method of signing up with the school administration to where no corporal punishment is to be administered to that particular student? Doesn't that exist?
No, it does not. Parent permission is not required.
Okay.
District, it's by individual district, they make a decision, but I want to go back to something you said. There's probably 1,700 evidence-based articles to prove that corporally punishing a child in school does not work. It does not stop behavior. It does not change behavior. If anything, it typically traumatizes the child. But I'm not here today to talk about neurotypical children. I'm here today to talk only and strictly, and Representative Moore have asked me to center myself strictly on children with disabilities under IDEA, because they're the most traumatized. And in fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with their most recent policy statement 2023, and they actually teased them out in their policy, saying these are very vulnerable population of children. This does traumatize them, and it prevents them from having a safe learning environment. So I kind of go to those experts because I'm a veterinarian, but I will tell you, I don't use corporal punishment on animals either. I quit using a twitch. I know better, and I did 40 years ago. But when you know better, you do better. And that's what we need to do in Oklahoma for these children under disabled children under IDEA. But I understand your concern, because there's a lot of other people that have that same issue. Going back to this slide, I would like to mention none of these gave parent permission with the exception of the child with cerebral palsy. And this is why I want to come back to parent permission. That does not work to say we're going to just amend this bill to say, well, you can corporally punish this child if you have parent permission, because what happened in that case is the mother had 5 or 6 children. I don't remember now exactly, but she was told, sign this or you will be coming to get your child. She will not go on field trips, and she will not be allowed to enter the gen ed class unless you sign this parent permission. She goes, well, schools know well, for my daughter, they're the place of resource, or, they must know more about this than I do. I don't corporally punish my child, but I want her at school. I want her to learn, because some kids with cerebral palsy are very bright, right? Have very high IQs. So she chose to sign that form. And then they took the child, she kept tremoring. They didn't understand cerebral palsy. She would fall out of her wheelchair. The teacher thought it was purposeful, took her to the principal, they put her on her knees and they paddled her. Again, that was with parent permission, but she went to OU going, what do I do, right? They're center, they're the help kids with disabilities. So just saying, and this lady right here actually quit her job because she didn't get permission. And this was in my own county. I know this lady personally. She had to quit. She worked at Head Start. She had to quit, go to a night job because she would not allow her son to be paddled. He looked very normal, and to the principal, he needed to be correctly punished. It devastated that child because he was in Stillwater doing great, and then it just pummeled his ability to learn because of the disability he has, a neurobiological. The way to handle him was not hitting him. That just caused him to become exhibit a lot of very negative behaviors. So she quit. She actually also put him into an EPIC, I believe, did not get the special services the child needs, could not afford to move back into a district because of her financial situation. They had to stay in that district. And I checked in just a couple months ago, and she feels like he will never have the level of independence he could have had. had he been able to stay in school and learn, because she said, I just don't have the training or the expertise to help my son. This one was an interesting case. She was a principal in Stillwater. I knew her also, but they lived outside of Stillwater. So their child had to go to a smaller school district. She put in his file not to corporally punish him. He was paddled 4 times before she learned that he was being. So the parent permission piece doesn't work. Okay, you can be coerced into signing something, just like this lady right here. She actually was at our interim study, and she said she did not remember ever signing that form. It actually was an abuse case that went to court. The child ended up trying to commit suicide and was put into a mental health facility in Arkansas. So these situations are very sad, right? It's very similar to the speaker from the parent board. Very sad, but we can do better. And we know research shows that these children are very traumatized by this, and it doesn't help them learn. And why not do it? And this is not me. Obviously, I'm not an expert. Dr. Duhan, Dr. Singleton, Dr. Catherine Moore from OU, and a sundry of individuals that work with the special ed children came up with this list for me, why they should not be hit. Primarily, and this one stands out for me, is it's a manifestation of their disability, their behavior that they're getting paddled for. And in Gracie's case, she would not understand it, and she mimics behavior. It's very common. So she would start hitting if the adult who was her caregiver or the person teaching her started hitting her, then she would think, well, that's something I need to be doing, is hitting. So it doesn't help a child progress towards positive behavior, which we certainly want these children with disabilities to be able to learn that. Parent rights is probably the #1 reason that is given for continuing to allow corporal punishment of children with disabilities under IDEA. And I would contend this bill does not say the parent could certainly come to school and paddle their child. The bill does not address that at all. Strictly talking about school personnel, state of Oklahoma employees, not using corporal punishment on this specific group of children with disabilities. And as I said, the parent right piece, there are parents' rights that aren't being honored right now that didn't want their child paddled, and they were paddled. And it's not just paddling. It only represents 17% of the students currently enrolled. And in 2021, the Civil Rights Department, our Civil Rights Office in the Education Department, at that point in 2021, we only had about 14% of our population with disabilities, but 20% of the incidences of corporal punishment in Oklahoma schools were on children with disabilities. So you got 14% of the population, but they were getting 20% of the paddling. That's a problem. Because in my opinion, we don't have the teachers don't have the training they need, and the paras don't have the training they need to work with these children. Some of you may know Andrea Kunkel. She witnessed at our interim study. And when the issue came up, how easy it was for a child to qualify, she said, absolutely not. It's a very in-depth process. It's a very clear process, and it's against the law for a child to be put under, it just categorized as a child disabled under IDEA, in fact, if they don't qualify. And I've talked a little bit about the lack of understanding. The Senate debate this year, and I'm very pleased to say Senator Rader did pass a bill twice now. And one of the discussions was, well, you mean a child with a vision impairment or a hearing impairment would be categorized as a child disabled. Well, a lot of people wear glasses. No. A child with vision impairment or hearing impairment under IDEA, their vision cannot be corrected with glasses or contacts. Their hearing cannot be corrected with a hearing aid or cochlear implant. Children have a neurodeficit, and they cannot process hearing in the vision piece like a neurotypical child. So I can understand why they thought that when you see that simple statement. But I want to explain to you all, I don't know all the answers, but I know that the people in special ed are very, very diligent before they would place. It's not an honor to be a student with disability under IDEA. Okay, it is a challenge for those students and they need those special services. Because just like Gracie, they can learn. I probably spent enough of your time. The only other comment I would come back to is this local control piece. And I think we know there are rules that districts have to follow regardless of what the school district thinks or the parent. One of them is just attendance. You know, it's compulsory that you attend school. So to me, this is a very unique group. They're a separate group. Federally, they're a separate group. And so yes, it does create a different standard for this group, but they have special needs. I'd be willing to answer any questions. I do thank you. I would urge you to look at that one pager and look at the organizations. We started with 12, ended up with 24. We have advisors from OSU, OU, UCO, and like I said, COSA has joined in trying to advise us. And so I feel very comfortable because this is in the best interest of these students. Thank you for your time. Are there any other questions?
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, discussion.
Really quick,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. I just wanted to make one comment in response. I firmly believe in the parents, each parent's ability to discipline their own children, how they see fit. I run a 78-bed maximum security facility, and I'm able to gain compliance of kids with severe autism, severe developmental disabilities, kids who have been allegedly charged with murder, rape, the most severe charges possible. I'm able to do that without corporal punishment. There is a way. It takes a lot of training and a lot of advocacy and a lot of, I mean, that's a fight that I constantly have to fight to educate my staff and how we respond. And it takes longer to de-escalate and to deal with those problems than it would to corporally punish, but I'm able to gain that compliance. So whether we take a stance on it or not, I just, especially for, like she said, the demographic of kids we're talking about and the specific kids that we're talking about, we have to start somewhere on that discussion, because otherwise it is left to districts that it's not their fault. They don't have the resources that other districts do. Their teachers don't have the training, their parents don't have the training, they don't have the money for the training, or even sometimes the knowledge to realize that they need it.
It's free. That's if they don't know that.
Yeah, but a lot of times they don't realize that they need it. They, especially if you're in a very small district that might only have 1 or 2 of those kids that we're talking about. I have many, Mr. Tardipono has many in his facility. They are our kids as well. They're the delinquent kids because they end up getting in trouble and then that's what happens. But we're able to gain compliance of 80 at a time without that. So there are ways for us to train and give help and do that just without that option.
I also want to note some of the things that were being discussed would easily lead to a child being removed by the Department of Human Services from parents for doing the same things that we're allowing these individuals to do within the schools, which should be a safe place for these kids who at times are also being mistreated at home.
Yes, they are. And because their parents don't, I will tell you, I had no idea. And until I met Dr. Singleton, behavior is an issue. And his education and him working with those parents and got into BCBA to even work with my daughter at home. Because as a parent, you didn't take that course, right? So it's been a blessing to know that we have the really neat resources in Oklahoma. I'm very proud of them and what we do have available for parents with disability, children with disabilities. And I'm only here to update. I'm not asking you all to take a vote on this at all. I do like advice and I do appreciate Judge Warren, your thoughts. I think hearing that and processing for myself and preparing to advocate for this, if it comes out of committee, which is in a committee that will not, doesn't have to see the bill until the 24th of April. So it's good practice. So I invite any of you, if you don't want to give me advice later, I left my email. I want this thing to pass. So thank you so much.
Dr. McAllister, thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 8, discussion of possible action regarding the annual performance review of the executive director and that Jacoby included to, but not limited to, the possible salary change. So I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
CEO Bittner. Yes. Director Front,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardy
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whip.
Yes.
Need paper for someone to take minutes.
Need a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
CEO Bittner,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks.
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardy
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whip.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Yeah, thank you.
Quickly, we just want the record to reflect that the board voted to enter into executive session at approximately 10:40 a.m. and exited executive session at approximately 11:11 a.m. And the board only discussed agenda item number 8. No votes or actions were taken.
Thank you. Are there any motions to be made following executive session?
I'll make a motion, move to authorize the chair to engage in salary negotiations with the executive director to approve a salary increase of up to 5% subject to available funding in FY '26.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Aaron,
Yes.
CEO Bittner,
Yes.
Director Front,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardy
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whip.
I'll abstain.
Motion passed.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Before we move on to the agenda, I just want to say, after the passing of that motion, Director Jacoby, we just really appreciate the work that you do at the commission. You do an outstanding job, and we just really appreciate your tenacity and moving forward with an excellent team towards our mission, and we really appreciate it. So I'll be scheduling a time to visit with you and move forward with your annual appraisal. Okay, in the essence of time, we're going to move the agenda around just a little bit. I'm going to move on to agenda item number 11, report and discussion about the results of the Second Chance Families Collaborative Project related to children of incarcerated parents. So we'll move on to that presentation now.
Hi, good morning. This is Clint Castleberry. I'm with the Oklahoma Department of Corrections. Sorry, I'm not able to join you in person today. I think we have some slides. I can share those, but I'm not sure if they're being shared in the room.
You shared them yet? Oh, is he asking if I'm sure?
If you all can share them, that's great. If you need me to share them, I can pop them up on, there we go. All right. Well, good morning. As I said, I'm Clint Castleberry with the Department of Corrections. I'm the Chief Administrator of Classification and Programs for the agency. So I have oversight for our rehabilitative efforts and community partnerships that lead to rehabilitative efforts. And I'm really just the window dressing for today's presentation to kind of set up our partners through this grant. But to give a quick overview of our Second Chance Families program, we were lucky enough to be the recipient of a grant through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Programs through BJA in FY22 to begin looking at ways to address some of the needs of incarcerated parents and their children in the community. OCCY's Children of Incarcerated Parents Advisory Committee is actually built into this grant to act as an advisory role for our subgrantees and for the Department of Corrections for this project. Ultimately, our goals are to improve the services for the incarcerated parents and their children by developing strategies and activities that can foster positive family engagement and ultimately reduce generational incarceration and recidivism. Through the grant, we've targeted one male facility, the Dick Connors Correctional Center in Hominy, and one female facility, the Mabel Bassett Correctional Center in McLeod, to develop kind of a service array through our sub-awardees. Essentially through a self-referral process, incarcerated parents can select one or more of the sub-awardees to provide services and obtain services through while incarcerated, and also services for the caregiver of the minor child in the community. Connection, if it's appropriate, with the incarcerated parent and child, and or connection with the child and caregiver in the community is a priority through the services that are offered. And our other main overarching goal of the grant is just to make sure that we can learn more about the children of incarcerated parents. We know that that's been a huge data gap, not just for the Department of Corrections, but for other entities across the state. And we're hoping to learn more about through the services that are provided in the grant, where these children are located, what gaps may exist that we can better plan in the future to better serve these kids of incarcerated parents. Our evaluation of the grant is being conducted under the guidance of Dr. David McLeod with the OU Ann and Henry Zero School of Social Work through OU. And we're about a full year into services through the sub-awardees. So our sub-awardees of the grant are Girl Scouts Beyond Bars through Girl Scouts of Eastern Oklahoma, the OK Messages Project, and New Hope of Oklahoma. And I'm going to stop talking now and turn it over to Shannon Looper with Girl Scouts Beyond Bars to kind of give a presentation and overview of the services that are being provided through them. And we'll go through each of the other sub-awardees in similar fashion. So I think we're ready for the next slide. And Shannon, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Clint. Thank you for having us on today. It is an honor to be able to present and share some great experiences that we have had with Oklahoma Department of Corrections, the collaboration that we've had with Oklahoma Messages and Oklahoma New Hope. Girl Scouts Beyond Bars, my name's Shannon Looper. I am the program director. Been with Girl Scouts for 22 years since the onset of this program. I know many of you in the room have heard about our program, and then some of you may have not heard about our program. This picture that you see here on your screen is actually a picture of our first graduating class at Dick Connor Correction Facility. It was an amazing opportunity to be able to facilitate nurturing parenting classes at Dick Connor. Since then, we have had 73 participants in our nurturing parenting class, with 49% graduating from the class. It's a full 100 hour of sessions that we have with the fathers. Right now we have 8 dads and 13 children that are seeing each other on a monthly basis, reoccurring every month, the third Saturday of the month. And we not only have our Girl Scouting troops at the facility, but we have community troops as well. Some of those, the dads that are, we have not made the connection in person yet, but the children are attending our community troops, our virtual community troops, and it's an honor to be able to serve these families. We currently have 53 dads and 89 children that are on our recruitment log. So it takes approximately 30 days or more to get those final approvals from caregivers. The caregivers, as you know, are the gatekeepers. We can gather the information from the gentlemen as they attend the classes, but it's up to the caregivers if they will allow the children to participate. And in some instances, it's not a safe connection, and those children can still attend our community troop. And as about 30% of the kids who do attend the community troop, they won't have access to their incarcerated parent, but we do have a place for them to be able to still receive those supports because due to having a trauma of having an incarcerated parent. And we know there's many of those that are associated. Also with Mabel Bassett, 95 since last year with Mabel Bassett in this particular grant, we are enhancing our program there at Mabel Bassett. And so since the onset of this grant, 95 women have attended or taken the nurturing parenting class, with 60% of them actually graduating from the class. And I would like to report that as of December, we have we're facilitating two consecutive classes simultaneously alongside of each other. With Oklahoma Department of Corrections, you can only have a max of 20 participants in a class. Being that it's a cognitive-based class, we want to make sure that they're getting all of the information that they can and they're really learning and participating. So we don't put it out to the masses and have large classrooms. It's only a classroom of about 20 participants at a time. And at Mabel Bassett right now, we currently have 26 moms and 13 children that regularly visit on the fourth Saturday of each month. And I wanted to show a slide of our kiddos. And one of the things that I often brag about Mabel Bassett, I've attended some of the best birthday parties ever at Mabel Bassett, just because, you know, women are natural nurturers and they come together as a family and make the origami, make the birthday cards, all of the banners and everything. If you've been into a facility, you know how creative some of these men and women are. Right now on our recruitment log at Mabel Bassett, we have 135 women that are on our waiting list, and that equals 269 children. We calculate the women and how many have each children. And I'll share with you that the reason that number is so high is due to the partnership that we have here on the screen with OK Messages and Oklahoma New Hope. OK Messages, every time and I won't take all of her shine, but when they have their recording sessions, we are able to be present and have our Girl Scout Beyond Bars table available for the women and the men to go ahead and sign up. Most of you know that the movement at a facility is very limited, and so we have to capture those moments when we have that captive audience. And so the partnership with the other organizations is very crucial in our recruitment efforts. So we're hoping to see more men and women, moms and dads, participating in our program forthcoming. A great story I want to share with you. One of our dads at Dick Connor, his name is Cecil. He had conversation and communication with his daughter for many years due to the way that they're able to communicate by tablet, phone calls, and the video visits. But through our program, he was finally able to have in-person visits with his daughter after 15 years. And that is just mind-blowing to me that daughter right in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was not able to be connected with her dad at Dick Connor in Hominy for 15 years because of the lack of transportation, whether it's the parent wasn't able to take them because they weren't an approved visitor. But because of our programs, these children are able to be reunited with their parents. And we thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thanks, Shannon. Clint, I think I'm next, correct? Yes.
You are. Take it away.
Well, I don't know how I follow something like that. Like that, you did me dirty doing having to go second. But hi guys, my name is Denise Daniels. I work as the executive director for the Oklahoma Messages Project. The work that we do is we go into correctional facilities. We currently work with about 8, 2 of which are through this grant, right? Mabel Bassett and Dick Connor. we go in and we film parents reading books to their children. And while it might sound very simple and maybe even a little antiquated or whatever, we through a filming process, we allow the parents to pick out the books. We bring a variety of topics and different interests for ages, 3 or 4 all the way up to 18. So the parents pick out the book and we do a little coaching with them. And then we take them into one of our filming rooms and they have the space to read a book and share a message with their child. And as I'll echo what Shannon said, many of these children have no physical contact with their parents. We spoke with a young woman at the Eddie Warrior facility just a couple days ago. I spent many hours up there, and she's not seen her children at all. In the 4 years that she's been in, she's had no physical contact. And so she, through conversation with one of my colleagues here, said, these videos are my visits. These videos are the visits that I get to have with my children. And that's pretty special. So anyway, they go into the filming rooms and, we coach them a little bit on, it's really important that your children know that I'm okay, right? Because I think, their perception of what prison or a correctional facility, what might be happening to their parent can be traumatic, even from what you see on TV. And so it's really important for them to see that their mama is okay. I'm okay. It's important for them to hear, I love you and I miss you. And it's important also for them to know, and this is a big one, this isn't your fault. This isn't about you. This isn't anything that you did that caused the separation. We know, and I may misquote, but I know at one time, 1 in every 10 children in the state of Oklahoma has been affected by parental incarceration at some point in their life. So if you run over here to Britton Elementary and you line up 10 children, one of them has a parent in prison or has been affected by that. So it's impacting our state hugely. And there's a lot of children that are displaced and currently displaced. Through this grant, through the Second Chance Act grant, we have had the opportunity to film 201 parents at Mabel Bassett or Dick Connor. That's a large amount. That's 200 parents that have showed up and said, I want my kids to see me. I want them to know that I'm okay. I want to boost their literacy by reading a book with them and reading along with them. And that's 429 children to date that have been impacted. They've received the videos, they've received books, and there's that connection made. Through our program, we are hoping to boost the literacy to drive some social emotional improvement, right? So that I can see myself differently and that there is hope, because there's still a huge stigma with parental incarceration. It's sort of like the children are wearing what their parent did, and that's hard. And so we're trying to try to run some hope to them, and then improve those educational outcomes. So this has really been an honor, and Shannon Looper is a phenomenal lady over at Girl Scouts, and appreciate the shout out and the work that we're able to do. I'm going to pitch it over to another wonderful lady, Amanda Maxwell, through New Hope, Oklahoma, for her to share out. But this is an honor to be able to share, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Maxwell, and I'm the Program Access Navigator for New Hope, Oklahoma. And I just want to echo the sentiment from Shannon and Denise. It is such a pleasure to work with both of them in partnership on this grant, and just to constantly be a part of the amazing work that they are doing. It's phenomenal, and the results are incredible, and I'm excited for this project to continue moving forward. So a little bit about New Hope, Oklahoma. We are a nonprofit that offers year-round programming for children and youth that are 0 to 18 or through their senior year who have a justice-involved parent. And for these incredible youth, we provide evidence-based after-school programming, summer camps, and then most recently, through this grant, we're able to support the parent-child connections when appropriate in partnership with Girl Scouts Beyond Bars, which has just been a phenomenal experience. I know the story that Shannon had shared about Mr. Cecil is just one of countless stories of healing and restoration that is able to take place in these families. So while we offered those services for children who are directly impacted by the justice-involved caregiver, we know that the impact of incarceration is not just felt by that youth, but by the entire caregiving family. So another goal at New Hope that we have is to create a safe and supportive community for the entire caregiving unit. We do that through regular family activities. We have resource events that we host for families, and then we offer care supports, which we provide by coming alongside and partnering with the caregiver to identify what the unique needs are of their family. We provide referrals based on those needs and then advocate for their successes in those areas. So once a part of our program, the youth are always eligible for our services regardless of the incarceration status of their parent. And so when reentry and reunification is an option for the justice impacted family member, we want to especially provide support and connection to resources, because that is a very difficult process to navigate at times. And there's lots of changes that are coming with that. So while we're primarily based out of Tulsa and Oklahoma City, our vision is to expand access to our services across the state. So through our interest forms that we've received through Girl Scouts Beyond Bars and messages, we are actively mapping out where these youth are located so we can determine where our service is needed. We can identify where services are already active through other programs and build those partnerships, because we don't want to step on any toes. We want to partner for the benefit of these youth and their families. And so we're very, very thankful for the work that we get to do here. Let's see. I do want to take a little bit of time. I want to be mindful of time, but I want to take a little bit of time sharing a story of where we've seen success with one of our families. So as the ladies have shared, we get these interest forms from the incarcerated caregiver, and it is ultimately up to the parent out here, the caregiver out here, as to whether or not youth are able to participate in those services. So while I make so many phone calls, I have a lot of really amazing conversations with people who are eligible for our services, as well as youth over 18 who want to be a part of mentoring and advocacy and program development. And with those wonderful conversations, I also get a lot of no return calls. So with good reason, and it's understandable. So I just have to be patient with the process, as I'm sure everyone else on this call also does. So there was a father who attended a town hall. He provided information for his 3 children at home, and I made the phone call. I was very excited, always am. So I made the phone call and there was no answer. And I made another phone call and there was no answer. So I made a third phone call and provided assurance of confidentiality that nothing, if the caregiver chose to share information with me, that information does not get back to the incarcerated parent without their expressed approval. So there was no answer yet again. But about a week later, I actually get a call back from this caregiver who let me know that she was not going to call back, except when I said confidentiality was so vital for us. She made the choice to go ahead and see what this was all about. And as we talked and I learned about the significant trauma that her family had been through, which is why she was very concerned about the safety of her family and confidentiality. And we spent months building trust and building a relationship. And being able to work alongside this family, and it has turned into this beautiful aspect of our community that we have at New Hope. And we've been able to connect her with other families where she can bring her kids to activities, and her kids can just be kids. Mom can just be mom. And it's a place where also dads come and dads can just be dads. The caregivers are there, and they all have the freedom at our activities to not worry about judgment or questions or stigma for things that no one in that caregiving unit had anything. They didn't make those choices. They like that it was out of their control what has happened, but they have to live with the impact of that. And this is a safe and a brave space that they can come to. That family in particular, we were also able to connect them through our care support with official local case management and mental health services. We've been able to connect them with housing and utility support. So we've advocated for their children's educational needs with faculty at their school. And that family has also referred other families to our program because of the community and the trust and the relationships that have been built there. So it's such an honor when we get to experience that word of mouth referral. This is a family, we've talked also about Girl Scouts Beyond Bars and what is available to their children, because even though they don't have contact with the caregiver, they are eligible for their community troop, and they are actually very excited to get involved in that program as well. So just an all-around illustration of how our partnerships are working together through this one referral. So with that, I will yield my time back to Clint, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you all today.
Thanks, Amanda, and thanks to the group for letting us share. We're happy to answer or try to answer any questions that you might have about this project.
Okay, thank you so much for presenting. Do we have any questions? You guys did such a thorough job. We really appreciate the work you're doing in this space. It's a really critical space. I live in El Reno. There's a federal prison right there, and I just have often thought, how does this affect the kids that are living in our community, and how do these kids, continue to maintain relationships with their parents? And so I just really appreciate the work you're doing in this space as leaders in our state. So thank you so much. Okay, moving back to agenda item number 9, discussion or possible vote concerning a list of provisional candidates who must have met the established criteria, mouthful, to be credentialed evaluators for the juvenile competency in accordance with OCCY. And I'll turn it over to Richard Yahala.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to
We did have a. Left bottom.
Morning, everyone. I'm gonna talk to you briefly, just give a brief overview about the statutes related to juvenile competency, as well as the administrative rules. For those of you who are new to new commissioners, and some of you who maybe haven't had an overview in a while, just real briefly on that. Also, a little bit about the Juvenile Competency Evaluation Professional Committee. Some stats since this program started in 2016, as far as what we have seen as far as testing is concerned, I mean, the competency. And also, at the very end, we'll wrap up with, I will present to you the 2 nominees for the provisional approval to work with us as juvenile competency evaluators who've completed the training so far. two statutes that we have related to the Oklahoma with the juvenile competency and also the administrative rules, the statute being 10A subchapter 2-2-401, 1 through 7, and also then administrative rules, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes, being Local Administrative Code 260-135-10-26-1.6. And so a little brief information on this, and not to go kind of go over this for just a moment, is what the statute generally covers, and I'm going over 7 parts here very briefly, is who raises the issue about competency in our court system, and those being either the court or the district attorney's office or the prosecuting attorney or the child's attorney. And then what we do here at the OCCY is we wait for that motion to come to OCCY's referral. We get all the referral information as being part of the statute. And also what is talked about more in detail in the Oklahoma Administrative Code is at that time a credentialed psychologist or if we had a approved psychiatrist is assigned the case, and then they conduct the evaluation following statute. After the evaluation is done, at that time, then the report is submitted, which is then sent back to all three parties, the judge, the prosecuting attorney's office, and then also the defense attorney's office on the determination on whether or not a youth is competent to stand trial, either being competent, non-competent, and then other issues related to if they are not competent. And then after the report's received, they receive the recommendations, then there's at that time, the next steps can be made and determined, which I'll go about more later about whether if they're not competent, whether or not a child can attain competency. 2 areas we primarily see reasons for not being competent are mental illness and intellectual disability. So those were what mostly almost all that we see as far as the reasons that are cited by our psychologist in making some competency determined. Next on the administrative rules, as far as kind of an overview of that, this is kind of what is kind of the building blocks, what leads to carrying out what the statute says as far as the eligibility for the evaluator and what's listed in the administrative rules. It can be either a medical doctor, as a psychiatrist or psychologist, and then the number of hours they have to have as a requirement. And also in the evaluation experience, what has prepared them to do the testing, and also what type of training they've done in the past. And so one of the things we'll be talking about later here in the presentation is seeking provisional approval from the commissioners on who we have as far as the training is concerned. Last part of the administrative rules is the Juvenile Competency Evaluation Professional Committee itself. It can have up to 12 members, but the essential core, it can have up to 12, but essentially we need a minimum of 8 members. And those 8 members consist of 4 psychologists, a judge who's involved in the juvenile justice system, a prosecuting attorney or district attorney, so representative from that office, and also a representative for a defense attorney. And then the last, the 8th one, has to be someone who has some type of specialty, who has worked with children in the past. It could be possibly social work, special education, some type of specific area of discipline related to working with juveniles in some aspect of the system. And over the last group of months, we've put together that committee as far as getting together as far as what we use as far as the competency committee. And this is my term, not something in the legislature or the rules or I call it my dream team. And here's the list of the individuals that we have for our committee, the Juvenile Competency Evaluation Professional Committee. And we've basically taken professionals from all across the state with different backgrounds, different disciplines, as far as helping us to put together a team to make the best decisions as far as the juvenile competency evaluators and who we work with the training and who we make decisions who we select. Just kind of give you a brief overview. Randy Barnett, he worked with OCCY about 10 years ago and helped develop the state juvenile transition plan. Dr. Catherine Fortune, who's been involved as being an evaluator herself and is involved in doing the training. Also, we have Greg Parks, who is a professor at OCCY here in Oklahoma City, as a psychologist, who's very instrumental in our training as well. Dr. Trower, who is also a psychologist, who has done a lot of work with testing with juveniles, worked with OCCY for the past 6 to 8 years. Judge Gore, who is an assistant district judge in Pryor in Mays County, is on the committee, as well as Jeff Jones, who is an associate district attorney in the Paul Huskin covers Pawnee area. Defense attorney Donald McCarthy in Oklahoma City, and Christy Washington in Norman with Norman Public Schools. She is the assistant special education director, and she works with several state children's facilities along 12th Street, where many of the facilities are there, and that's kind of her oversight area. The newest addition is Dr. Schmidt, who is the chief psychologist for the Office of Juvenile Affairs, who we just welcomed to our committee very recently, and we're glad to have her involved. And just like I talked about, the minimum that we need for the committee, and then how many we can have up to being 12. What I want to share with you briefly, just for a few moments, is these are the stats we've accumulated over since 2016. And as you can tell, from 2016 till now, the number continues to rise as far as competency orders statewide. I believe once we have more psychologists helping us with testing, that number is going to continue to increase. And if you notice, in 2025, 75% of the fiscal year has gone by. And so basically, if this number continues, we're probably going to have approximately 77 referrals for competency testing. And it shows the numbers that we have so far. I think, in my opinion, the numbers of values have kind of dipped because all of you have known Dr. Stephen Grisham, who was a psychologist who helped from the very beginnings of our competency testing statewide, passed away in January, and he was kind of our specialist statewide, but he was the one who handled most referrals at Tulsa. And so after his death, we only have one right now who's helping us with competency testing on a full-time basis, Dr. Trower. And then talks about the percentage of evals that have been determined to be competent. And we've done this this time study since 2016, 2025. And the percentage of evals that are not competent, and what those numbers are. And then also the number of canceled evaluations, which we have listed, and we tracked those back to 2021. Anybody have any questions? I wanted to share with you some of the challenges that we have at this time, and this being because having I guess not enough psychologists to help us with competency testing, trying to meet the 30-day order of appointment to evaluation reports, getting assigned the orders to do the testing, and then getting the reports back to the courts. Trying to meet that 30-day deadline has been difficult to meet at this time. Also, that we have the 60,000 we were given by the legislature would cover approximately 48 juvenile competency evaluations, and we're exceeding that really quick. And as I told you before, We had 72 last year and we had I'm projecting us to have about 77 this year by the end of the fiscal year. And then just one of the things that's another subject for another day, that's a big concern is the lack of a statewide remediation program. We've been talking about that with some of the psychologists we work with, but that's something that we need to work in the future, have some type of uniformity in the program for that. And then the last one being additional forensic evaluators. Any questions? So what I'm going to do is kind of give you a brief overview. And here's our two candidates who have completed the training on March 28th to learn about juvenile competency and what the job consists of, or what the role is, and also the specific aspects of report writing when it comes to juvenile competency. And these are the two individuals who are both in the Oklahoma City area that we have as provisional candidates, who I am presenting to the board today for your approval, so that they can be on a provisional status for us over until June. And so basically it'll be provisional status. And during this 60 days, we would give them one report, one assignment, one referral, and they will do it like what we call a provisional test assessment for us. And then that report, we get the reports back, and then I would be hopefully with great news seeing you in June 20th at the next meeting and telling you the results of that, and working at that point towards regular approval of them being competency evaluators.
Provisionary approval process is within the current administrative code and statute.
Yes.
Any questions?
I'll say I don't have experience with Dr. Lancaster, but Dr. Yemi, we've worked with for a little while now to do our psych evals at the Juvenile Bureau and have had great success with it. So I'd highly recommend him for it.
Anyone like to make a motion to approve these two candidates?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Director Front,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardibono,
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whip.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for your very thorough presentation. That was really informative for me. Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 10, I believe. And before we do that, I just want to mention, we still have quorum. We've had a few had to step out, but we're right at 8, so we're right at quorum. So I'm gonna try to move us through this pretty quickly. I know everybody has lots going on. Agenda item number 10, discussion and possible vote to create a committee comprised of OCCY commissioners to focus on quality improvement of the Office of Juvenile Systems oversight. So I'll talk a little bit about it and then would say a few things. I know that Director Jacoby has over the years taken time to focus on specific departments, just with overall quality improvement. And in visiting with her, she's trying to focus on this Office of Juvenile Systems oversight this year. And in doing that, she thought it would be, and I agree, it would be good to have commissioners and a committee of people to provide input to that, both commissioners and maybe people from the field. I think it would be good to have commissioners on that would not have a conflict. You know, I know that just to be forthcoming, I don't want to put somebody in a tricky situation where they're saying, hey, you know, this is how it should work, when it's affecting how it would affect their department, their state agency. So just wanted to open that up to a little bit of discussion of who would be on that committee, how many would be a good amount to be on that committee, to give me some direction and authority to be able to appoint a committee to work on this issue. Is there anything that I missed?
I just want to add, I had I thought a very helpful, productive meeting with Director Tardibono and Director Cartmel, where we talked about just kind of where to jumpstart, because we spend the majority of our time when we get complaints primarily in child welfare, and then second would be with any work connected with the Office of Juvenile Affairs. But honestly, there are very few around the table. DA Hicks, we're not gonna come out and look into any complaints about you. Judge Warren, can't do anything, can't touch you, right? So, but for a lot of you, we might receive a complaint and we might be on your property and we might be looking at your records and we might be doing some interviews. So I know that Director Cartmel and Director Tardy-Bono asked that they not be the first layer perhaps in creating some kind of maybe changes or any improvements, because they didn't want there to be a perception that they were creating a system that would make it easier on them, which I very much appreciate. And I assume a lot of you might have the same feeling. So all this to say, if you have an interest, we would love to have you participate. Know though that if you're not on this particular committee, it doesn't mean we won't be sharing information, asking for your opinion, and doing some kind of continuous discussion about this. This is, in my view, going to be at least a year's worth of work. There's some real tough things that probably need to be changed. Everything from something seemingly as simple as the forms we use to collect information, or you know, how quickly we can get something out in a product, and what should be released to the public, if anything should be. All of these things I think need to be discussed, and we will bring it to the full group. So if you're not on the committee, don't think you're being shut out. And I just want to say, we recognize that some of you are in a very similar spot perhaps to Director Tardy-Bono and Director Cartmel. So with that, I don't know if you necessarily need to appoint people today, but I did want people to know what we're trying to do. And I do think we'll have other stakeholders outside of commissioners, but definitely this is the thing I think we should be known for primarily. And it is why we were created, and we need it to be the best it can be with the resources we have. And we don't have enough resources to do what I would want to do in my brain. It's probably true for all of us and what we do. And so we need to figure out how to make some efficiencies and make things as good as they can be. So with that, I'll stop talking.
I appreciate it. So I guess I need to know specifically from you, what type of motion, what do we need to appoint this committee in terms of legality?
I think just a motion to create the committee at the moment would be fine. And as long as they're giving you authority to find members for that committee later, I think that should be okay.
Okay. Okay, I just want to say I really love this idea. I think it's really important. I think it should be at the forefront of our mission and what we do. And so I'm really excited about this committee. So I would seek a motion to move forward with that. And also welcome any questions or comments or thoughts.
I'll just say, I support this concept and the idea, as I'm coming in and looking at my own procedures related to licensure and contracting, I'm hoping that there could be some, collateral effect of things that we might be able to adjust to serve not only our young people better, but also the providers that are having to deal with this. I have a very desire to let our providers be as competent, and I really appreciate Commissioner Whip's comments about training and things of that nature. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this produces. But yeah, I would support this, and I'll make the motion to approve it pending other comments.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, please call roll.
Director Front,
Yes.
District Attorney Hicks,
Yes.
Commissioner Larison,
Yes.
Commissioner Michaels Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Tardy-Bono.
Yes.
Judge Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Whip,
Yes.
motion passed.
Awesome, thank you.
I've got one question. Do we define this as a committee or a subcommittee? Is it gonna matter?
I don't think that should matter. I think committee's fine.
Committee.
Okay.
Yes, and if anybody in moving forward from today, if you think you think, oh my gosh, this person really needs to serve in this capacity, or I would love to serve in this capacity, please reach out to me or Annette, and as we form the committee, we'd like to hear from you all. Okay, moving on to agenda item, I believe number 12, report and discussion on the legislative request, and our Marcia Johnson's not here today, so I'm going to turn it over to Director Jacoby.
Okay, that'd be great. Also, before we end, I think we have some callers that we don't have identified, and we need to be able to do that for our minutes. So before we conclude, can we do that?
Yes,
We should have done
absolutely.
that at the beginning. Thank you. I just
Sorry.
noticed it. No, I just noticed it. That's fine. Thank you for your patience today. Half our staff seems to be in DC, and it was kind of a struggle for us to figure out all these roles. It may
You've done a
seem
great
like,
job.
I'm just gonna tell you, it's like it takes 20 people to pull off a commission meeting. I don't know why or how, but it does. And so we're missing some real key people today. I want to let you know that all of the bills, and I'll give you a quick reminder of that we requested and you have supported, are still moving forward. So that we believe that to be a good sign. House Bill 1574, that is authored by Representative Lawson, and the co-author is Senator Stanley. That is I'll just remind you, the bill that would allow the Office of Juvenile System Oversight to go in and do unannounced visits on private facilities that receive state funding. We will not have the capacity to be everywhere every year, so no one should fear, but it will allow us to go in without a formal complaint. And that is the way the agency originated, and it got changed in 2009. We're just wanting to go back. I will also update you on House Bill 2982, which is Representative Townley's bill along with Senator Kern. It is a very simple bill. That is the bill where it would allow the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation to receive a referral from me so that they can receive a case and act on that. If you remember, our side of the act allows me to send them something, but in their side of the act, they have a list of people they can accept referrals from, and I'm not there. So it looks like I'm passing something off and it gets caught up in Netherlands. So we're gonna fix that. I will say in the past though, I have never had them say no. So this is more of a cleanup, and I have not had any time that they have said, we won't help you because you're not in this list. Senate Bill, I didn't write it down, sorry, forgot. It's sponsored by Representative Pay and Senator Peterson. 799, thank you. That is the bill, if you remember, that we talked a lot about on having an alternative adult who could be on texts with a student if a staff from the school was going to text. It has become a little more complicated than anyone ever dreamed of, but it is still moving forward. So I want to let you know about that. I think, we always think these things are simple, but they're not always simple, right? But it's still moving forward and people are still loving the idea of it. It's just how to make it work. And then lastly, but not least, House Bill 1863, which is a bill by Representative Roberts and Senator Rader. That's around the freestanding multidisciplinary teams. We had two purposes to that bill. One was to change the word that the team would intervene in cases, just because I think it gives a perception that people leap out of a chair and go to a child and do something with them. And I do believe there's been some folks in the public who have expected that. So we just want to change that word so it seems more relatable for someone just reading that and understanding what the expectation is. Also, we wanted to really beef up the language around the database that the freestanding teams are using. We've been using this agency has all kinds of case information, confidential information. We have not had pushback from the folks at the Capitol. And I just, that is still moving forward. There have been some pushback by an organization or so that believes that we should not have the ability to see case specific information here at the central office. we just, I'm gonna be honest with you, that is not a negotiable to me. We have to be able to do our job. We are a state agency. I can look into Director Tardy Bono's records. I can look into DHS's records. I could ask you for your records, but I can go click buttons right now. It is the way we operate. I don't have time to be looking at something just because I'm bored. Nobody is doing that, but we need to be able to clean data. We need to see if a family is popping up in 4 different counties and alert those teams. It is quality assurance and best practice for us. So we are not interested in looking at aggregate data. So we are saying this to legislators. It is still moving forward, but I just wanted you to know, there's a flyer kind of floating around and it says we're not cooperating. Well, I'm not gonna cooperate because that's not what I believe we're charged to doing. So I'm just gonna be honest. I love collaboration and I love compromise when I think it makes sense. I do not believe it makes sense for this agency. If you tell me differently, I will behave differently. But I think it hamstrings us in doing our work if we cannot see that information here in the central office. So we take confidentiality. We take confidentiality very seriously, and I just want you to know that it is as secure as the rest of our database is. It is part and parcel of the big system that we created with all the blessings and approvals from the OU team that created it, along with the Office of Management and Enterprise Services. So we will do something differently if you direct, but otherwise we're gonna move forward with the bill as is. And that's the update for legislation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have any questions?
Is there anything we could be doing to help?
You are always welcome to call and we can talk about that. You bet, you bet. And you're always welcome to do anything you want individually, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, director's report.
I apologize for the director's report being late. This was a challenging week in getting everything pulled together. You do have a hard copy. I'll let you read it. There's only one thing I'd just like to highlight, just so everyone knows. The governor did put out an executive order 2024-29 about having everyone return to the office. Our office is not conducive to bringing everyone back. We intentionally reduced our footprint when we moved over here years ago, and we had about half of the office working full-time from home. So what we've done is a compromise to try to meet the spirit of the executive order as much as possible, is have staff at least in the office 1 day a week, and we have some commuter spaces that we set up. It's not ideal. We are working with OMES in the building currently to see if we could acquire some more space on this floor. We still wouldn't be able to bring everybody back, but it would make the spaces a little more enticing than what we have now for the people who are having to rotate through. But I just wanted to keep you abreast. That is not something we have built into our budget right now. It would have to come out of something, and I don't know what, but we're looking at all options right now. And OMES is being really helpful, and they're trying to give us the best opportunity we can to accommodate that executive order. But I just wanted you to know, we're not able to meet it to the letter of the law. We are using an exemption. We are doing the reports as required, but we are trying to do something to at least meet the spirit of it. And I'm happy to answer any other questions about that report, and feel free to call me later. I apologize. It's just, I also want to explain, we changed this agenda numerous times, and I know that can be frustrating. We didn't change the content, but we did kind of change around some wording and what things needed to be voted on. We're really trying to be absolutely perfect as possible when it comes to Open Meeting Act. We have a new assistant, very grateful for your assistance. And so be patient with us as we kind of feel each other out on how we want wording and language, and it'll smooth out. It'll smooth out, I promise. And we'll have less changes as we move forward. So I appreciate your patience with that.
I have one comment. On your report, Not to point out how great her tour was of our secure care facility, but that tends to be the result. But our program, the reason is because I'm so proud of it. Our program is the Office of Juvenile Affairs HOPE program in action, not home.
Oh, sorry, that's a
program
typo.
in action, because we are a hope-centered agency
Sorry.
and we implement
Thank you.
hope training with the young men in our care. And she got to sit in on 2 of our classes with our young men. And she got to see both young men who were faithfully working the program and a couple of young men who were trying to get some attention that day. But that's what we're dealing with on a regular basis. But I just wanted the record to reflect that OJ is very proud of our hope-centered programming, but also very grateful to have any of you all that want to come out and tour our secure care facility in Tecumseh. With, we have maximum of 64 beds. We tend to have about 48 to 52 on any given week. And so, and I just want to say, I do not give the tour. Our superintendent does not give the tour. 4 to 5 of our young men that have earned the right to be in the what's called the community phase, the 5th phase, right before release. They're the ones that are going to give you the tour. And I'm particularly proud of that because it shows the end of the baking product comes out when you're walking around with our young men, and our young men are leading that tour. So just to put that out there for anyone who'd like to come.
Thank you for pointing out, correcting my typo. I will say Director Tardy-Bono offered for us to have a meeting there if we would like to do that sometime. And so we'll be reaching out to you about that. I know some of you drive quite a distance, and so I'm not, need to feel that out. So it is a great opportunity. They do have space for us, so we might do that sometime.
We'll need enough logistical time to handle getting behind the fence and all that other stuff.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your report.
You bet.
Okay, next on the agenda is agenda item number 14, chairperson report. I'm going to be really brief. The one thing I wanted to say is I visited with the executive team on the board, which is myself, the vice chair, and the secretary. I'd had somebody question, do we like the way that we're doing public comment right now in our commission meetings? And so just wanted to reach out to them and say, hey, what do you think? Do you like the way we do it? Should it be tied to, public comment be tied to something on the agenda, or should it be left open? And I think the consensus we came to is we're open to ideas of changing it, but we really don't have a problem with the way that we do it now. So I just wanted to share that we had discussed that and thought about that. And if anybody has ideas about that, if you'd like to see it change or you like the way it is, feel free to reach out to me, send me an email, give me a call, and we'll talk about it. I know everybody has a different preference, and probably a lot of us probably do it different at each of our own board meetings. So if you have a preference about that, please let me know. I think that's all I have to share. Are there any announcements? Agenda item number 15.
We need to identify.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, let's identify. There's somebody on the call with us that says user. Could you identify yourself for us, please, just for our minutes?
They're muted if they are identified.
If you're on with us and your title is user, could you please identify yourself for us? Okay. Are there announcements from the commission? Hearing none. Well, thank you all so much for your time. I'll go ahead and call us adjourned at 12:14. Thank you guys so much.